What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Liberty Revolt with me, Bucky Dillon, and my co-patriot, Kevin LaRusso. We have a special guest on the line, Larry Elder. So tell me, Larry, how are you doing? How was the governor's race? And what did you get out of it?
Boy, big question, guys. Bucky, Kevin, thank you so much for having me. Let me give you a somewhat lengthy answer if I don't bore you with it. The race was incredibly exhilarating. I enjoyed campaigning far more than I thought I would. I took off around 8 weeks from talk radio to do this. I entered the race really late, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that I was able to meet a lot of people and inspire them. This state is overwhelmingly left wing, as you know. About half of the voters in California are registered Democrats. Another 25% are registered independents. And even the New York Times said that registered independents in California vote Democrat. So you're really talking about 75% to 25% left versus right here in California. California hasn't elected a Republican statewide for any race, whether it's governor, lieutenant governor, controller, AG, any of the statewide offices in about 20 years. So this would have been an earthquake had I done this. And the reason I thought I had a shot is it wasn't a straight-up election. It was a recall election. Two questions were on the ballot. The first is, do you want this man recalled, referring to Gavin Newsom? And if 50% plus one said yes, then you go to whom do you want to replace him? And whoever got the highest number of votes would have won. So I could have become governor with a plurality as opposed to a majority of the vote. So it's one of a rare time where I thought maybe somebody who was conservative had a shot. Now, the problem is we did have a successful recall election back in 2003 when another Democrat unpopular governor was recalled and replaced by Arnold Schwarzenegger. But the electoral math is very different from it was just 18 years ago. There are now 5% more registered Democrats than in 2003. There are 50% more registered independents than in 2003. And as I mentioned, they typically vote Democrat. And there are 33% fewer registered Republicans. So the electoral math was daunting. Still, I thought I had a shot. And if you look at the results, not too shabby for somebody who never ran for office before. There are 59 counties in California. 29 of them went to Gavin Newsom. The Bay Area, LA, not too surprisingly. 29 went to me. And on the replacement side, I got roughly 45% of the votes who voted to replace him. That's more than my 45 rivals combined. We carried 57 of 58 counties on the replacement side. The only one we didn't carry was San Francisco, and we lost that. I just found out yesterday because they finally certified the election. We lost that by 149 votes. The Democrat in the race took that county. So we almost won every single county in Los Angeles on the replacement side. Now, here are the problems. The problem is, as I said, the electoral math, but more than that, the media. The most important influential media here in California is the Los Angeles Times, and they hate my guts, and the feeling is mutual. I've been on radio for 27 years, and I have attacked them for their left-wing bias for 27 years. And they brought out the dogs. One of their writers referred to me as, and I'm quoting the headline, Larry Elder is the black face of white supremacy. You've been warned, end of quote. Another one called me all but a black David Duke. Why? Because I don't believe in systemic racism. I don't believe in critical race theory. I don't believe that the police are mowing down black people just because they're black. That made me the black face of white supremacy. The other problem, unlike what's going on right now in Virginia, is that the money was lopsidedly in favor of Gavin Newsom. I raised $20 million in 8 weeks, which is warp speed more than all my major Republican rivals combined, including a self-funded millionaire. But Gavin Newsom spent $200 million, 10 to 1. And I could not get this man to debate me on the issues of crime, on the issues of the way he shut down the state in a more draconian way than anybody else, denied public school kids a whole year of in-person education. Because of the way he shut down the economy, a third of all small businesses are now gone forever, most of whom are run by minorities. I only mention their race because people like Gavin Newsom pride themselves on caring about minorities. They wouldn't let me. The other issue was the rise in homelessness, the fact that people are leaving California for the very first time, poor forest management. We're having rolling brownouts here in California because of the poor management of our energy grid, and farmers are enduring water rationing because we've not added in any way to our water infrastructure in 40 or 50 years when the state was half its size. So those were the issues. And if you look at every commercial that Gavin Newsom cut and the ones that were cut for him by Barack Obama and Senator Warren and Senator Bernie Sanders, They all said this. This is a Republican takeover by a Trump Republican or a Trump wannabe or a Trump light. Gavin Newsom even referred to me as, quote, more Trump than Trump, not the issues. And because there were no debates, he was able to get away with this. You don't find that phenomenon in Virginia right now where there's another debate and where they're using the same tactic, calling this a takeover by Republicans. And during the debate, Glenn Youngkin, the Republican, said to him, you've now brought up Donald Trump 5 times. Are you going to bring up the issues? And he wasn't able to respond to that. The media out here supported him. The LA Times endorsed him for governor, opposed in the editorial, opposed the recall. The other major influential is the Sacramento Bee. They endorsed him for governor. They editorialized against the recall. So I had the media absolutely, totally against me. And frankly, because of the fact that Virginia is a original state of the Confederacy, I think there's a great deal of sensitivity to playing the race card. Not so out here in California. California is arguably the most left-wing state in the Union, and as a result, calling Larry Elder the black face of white supremacy. Well, you can't go after the media for calling for being racist, because of course they're not racist. This is California. So for all those reasons, it was very, very difficult for me to win. But still, I believe I mounted a very credible campaign. I scared the hell out of him. That's why he brought in all these people. That's why he had to spend all this money to stave off the recall.
Yeah. I do definitely want to comment, especially on the LA Times thing. So my mom, when she was growing up, when she was entering the workforce, she worked for the LA Times. And this is back in the 70s, 80s, and into the early 90s. And she was on track to be one of the first female editors. Now, back then, they were actually a very good source of news. They made it a point to be as honest as possible in the news. Granted, we all know that news media has never really been too honest. But something has changed dramatically within our media landscape. What do you think has been the biggest component of this media shift from being reporters to being activists within the media? And what do you think has to happen in order to really change that narrative as it goes?
Well, this is a long-time problem that most conservatives talked about. The media has become a public relations bureau for the Democrats. They consider themselves to be left-wing. They consider themselves to be woke. And so if you are a Republican, you are by definition problematic. You are somebody who is trying to take away a woman's right to choose if you're pro-life, as I am. You only support rich people if you don't believe that we should be raising taxes. They've become advocates. It's been a problem going on for a very long time. Another factor, though, in the race I didn't mention is I tried to make a big issue of school choice. 80% of the kids educated in public schools in California are black and brown. The remainder are Asian Americans and whites. And we have among the worst results in the whole country in math and in reading, despite spending about $20,000 per student. The people that are hurt the most are urban students in the inner city, most of whom are black and brown. And the polls show that the majority of parents living in urban areas, black and brown, want school choice. So I thought it might be a winner for me. In fact, a major Democrat politician named Gloria Romero, who used to be in the state Senate, she's a Democrat. She wasn't just in the state Senate. She was a state Senate majority leader. She crossed party lines and endorsed me in this recall election, even cut a commercial for me. But it didn't work. Nobody gave a rip. And I suspect the reason for this is, unlike Virginia, where school choice is an issue, the Republican supports it, nearly 50% of the kids in Virginia public school students are white. And the ones out here in L.A. and San Francisco, big demographic centers for left-wing people, if you've got any money at all, you don't have your kid in a public school beyond maybe elementary school. I've got a lot of friends who live in L.A., as I do, and I don't have a single one of them, white friend, single one of them who has his or her kid, had put his or her kid in a public school beyond elementary, and most of them didn't have them in public school and elementary. So my point is, affluent whites here in California do not have their kids in public school, so school choice was not a major issue with them. That is not the case in Virginia, where almost half of the student body, kids in public schools, are white, and the parents want school choice. So that's one of the big factors here. But your question about the media. The media here in LA is I mean, look at the LA Times. I've been here for 27 years on radio. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles. I'm from the hood, for crying out loud. I should be a success story. I published about 6 books. 2 of them made the New York Times bestseller list. 2 of them made the LA Times bestseller list. The LA Times has never reviewed any of my books, any of them. I had a documentary that came out Juneteenth last year called Uncle Tom. It grossed more money than all of the 5 films that were nominated for Best Documentary by the Academy Awards combined. Had a higher IMDb rating than any of them, had a higher Rotten Tomatoes rating than any of them. I think one of them had a rating as high. The LA Times never reviewed the film. So the LA Times has never had a great deal of love for Larry Elder, and when I decided to run, I think that they unleashed the hounds. So for all those reasons, it was daunting.
Yeah.
So you were one of the reasons that I started the Liberty Revolt and I got involved in the first place, and I got a radio show on 1360 KHNC. What advice would you give me about being a young guy trying to get these messages out there and make a difference? How did you do it, and what could you tell me?
Real simple, guys. Be yourself and tell the truth. That's it. Be yourself. Be fearless. And let the chips fall where they may. There's a lot of stuff to uncover here. We have a lot of issues here. This country is moving further and further to the left. It's ignored its founding Judeo-Christian principles. And I believe that we are at a turning point. We're at a crossroads. We need young people like you guys to get involved into the fight. So get involved and be true to yourself and unleash fire. Obviously, don't be profane. And in my own case, everybody has their own different style, and I don't want to even give you a recommendation because I would then be trying to copy somebody else instead of being yourself. But I've never ever demeaned politicians. I don't have funny names for them. I don't talk about their appearance, their look, their weight. I've never done that. I try to stick to the issues and put on an entertaining show. If you were to ask me what are my goals, the first goal is to be entertaining. If you're not entertaining, no one's going to listen. Then the second goal is to be informative. Third goal for me is to be provocative, to choose issues that people care about, that people are emotional about. And then every now and then I'm able to achieve my fourth objective, which is to be uplifting, offer solutions, ideas that can make our country better. Our goal should be for all people to realize their God-given potential. I know that's how you feel. That's how I feel. So that's my philosophy on talk radio.
Well, I want to find out. So you've been doing this for a very long time. You said 27 years. My father listened to your very first interview on Dennis Prager, and I want to know, where do you think you have evolved the most, either morally, ethically, or just as a person, since you began the radio to right now? Where do you think you have changed or grown the most as a human being in that time?
I think I've always been a person of faith. My faith has deepened as I've done talk radio because I see more and more the only way out of this, as naive as it sounds, is love. We can't hate the other side the way, unfortunately, they hate us. 83% of Democrats believe Donald Trump is a racist. I mean, honestly, a man who presided over the best economy for blacks in American history, the guy who pardoned Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion, the guy who put funding for historically black colleges on a permanent basis for 10 years, the guy who expanded opportunity zones in the inner city so that businesses would have an incentive to come there, and for crying out loud, a guy that supports school choice, which urban parents want, which the school board does not want. And this guy it's deemed to be a racist by Democrats. We can't respond that way because you can't move people over to the other side if you demonize them like that and expect them to listen to your good ideas. So I become an even deeper person of faith. And obviously, I'm far more knowledgeable about every issue, more knowledgeable about immigration, more knowledgeable about the economy, more knowledgeable about foreign policy. You can't stay in this field and not get better and better and bigger and more knowledgeable. So I think I'm a much better talk show host than I was when I first started 27 years ago.
All right, last question. Then we'll let you go. You mentioned Trump and racism. It didn't seem like that line that worked for them. There was a massive transfer of Black Americans away from the Democrat Party during Trump's presidency. Do you think that's a trend that'll continue? Well,
that's one of the reasons why Trump has got to be demonized, because you're absolutely right. During my campaign, I talked about some numbers: 4, 6, 8, 12. In 2008, 4% of blacks voted Republican. That was Obama's first campaign. Obama presided over an awful economy for blacks. If you look at what happened during his 8 years, the poverty rate for black people actually went up. Even Tavis Smiley, a left-wing guy whom I had a combative interview when I ran for governor, even he conceded by every major metric, the economy for black people went down, did not fare well under Obama. So Obama runs for re-election in 2012. 6% of blacks now vote for the Republicans. Donald Trump runs in 2016, and what does he say? What do you have to lose? Got 8%. Donald Trump runs for re-election in 2020 after having delivered for all the things I just mentioned earlier, he got 12%. That's a 50% increase from 2016 to 2020. It's going in the wrong direction, and they know it. That's why they're doubling down on crap like critical race theory, reparations, and referring to the cops as systemically racist, because they want to tell black people, stop, rethink. You're in bed with the wrong guys. You're in bed with the guys who wear the black. We're the guys who wear the white hats, and they are scared to death that more and more black people are not thinking about themselves as a tool to be manipulated by the left, but more people who are thinking about jobs and schools and crime like everybody else.
Yeah, perfect. Well, yeah, but hey, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Larry. This has been an absolute pleasure. Like I said, you are a hero to both of us, and I'm sure there's many more that would say the exact same thing. You have been an absolute warrior for good ideas and trying to actually change people's lives. And I hope to God that this isn't the last we saw. This gubernatorial campaign was not the last we're going to see you in the political sphere, because we need more men like you standing up and taking the fight to the forces of evil, to the forces of the Democratic Party. Because at the end of the day, this fight starts and ends with the people like us. And, as long as these institutions think they have the power and we're standing up against them, people will realize they actually don't. So thank you so much for your time today, Larry.
We get the government we deserve. And Bucky and Kevin, I really enjoyed it. Be sure and send me a copy of this interview. I'll play it on my show.
Thank you so much.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Larry Elder, my friend. If you want to catch more, subscribe, hit the bell, hit the like button, do whatever you got to do to get more Liberty Revolt content. And if you're listening on the radio broadcast, we'll see you next week.